now for the Shop Report with
Barbershop Jay.
What up, sports fans? Welcome to the Shop Report. I'm Barbershop Jay. I'll be your host for the day. Here's what's happening. If you're up and around, you're out and about, and you want to give us a shout, that number to call is area code 267-687-0026. Once again, 267-687-0026. And as always, we'd like to remind you the Shop Report is now being powered by none other than Rocket Digital Media. It's the one-stop shop for all of your digital marketing needs. You can look them up on Facebook at RDM Detroit. Once again, that's at RDM Detroit. Or you can go to their website, rocketdigital.net. For all my slow spellers out there, that's ROCKIT digital.net. And you tell them BSJ sent you. Joining us on the P-Rogram today is none other than my cat from the NYC, a.k.a. Rucker Park. Brother Rich, what's happening?
It's always an honor and a pleasure and a privilege to be with you. I know it takes a lot for you to get out from Dallas and traffic and get us on this program, and we're always honored to be on this platform with you. I want to close out my opening commentary by saying that the police should be arrested who murdered Breonna Taylor. So arrest the cops who murdered Breonna Taylor.
Yeah, and that $12 million settlement is a joke. And on the other side of the ledger, we got my man from up north, Joey James, a.k.a. Double J. Tell the people what you say.
Elementary, dear Watson. Or wait a minute, was it Deshaun Watson?
Yeah. Oh, you laughing too, Brother Rich? That was pretty funny. You know, it's funny. Before we get into today's...
That was a good one coming from my homeboy.
Oh, really? Got you. Before we get into any of today's topics, Helen, I'd like to point out how, to the viewers or listeners, if you would, how my esteemed colleagues / co-hosts have failed to mention, because in their what do you call it? Because they got on blinders when it comes to this made-up cowboy thing and this Baker Mayfield and Cleveland Browns thing, how my esteemed colleagues have failed to mention or give mention to my Miami Hurricanes being 2-0, and how in the world Russell Wilson did not receive not one MVP vote since, I don't know, Wisconsin maybe? Disgusting.
Because Mahomes still in the league double X. Is there Patrick Mahomes play right now?
So whoa. Before Mahomes, Russell Wilson was in the league for how long? What that got to do? What Mahomes got to do with Russell?
Wilson did his thing. He had his shine with Seattle. They had their shine. We all know who he is. We know him as a great individual. Is the fact remains that contrary to our host popular opinion, Patrick Mahomes is the epitome of quarterbacks in the National Football League today, and he is on track to be a Jordan-like character and take this thing to the next level, and that's a fact.
Okay.
He shows it week in and week out, and the fact that you want to continue to put everybody on his level and make them all equal to him just because they, even though they're great and unique in their own right, you fail to recognize, and you can check the tape. Two of us in this program have been saying it from the beginning, that this young man, he's just a little step above his compatriot.
Oh, you know what? I'm glad you said that, because what I'll do is, for the viewers or the listeners, I will pull that particular tape, and I'm going to do a poll, and I'm going to ask the viewers to listen to just that portion of the tape, and for them, the viewers, to weigh in on where at all in that show or any shows we've discussed I ever said that any other quarterback was on Patrick Mahomes' level. Actually, I specifically said that they were not. What I said, which Brother Richard loves to do, he loves to misconstrue, was Deshaun Watson could win an offense in win a Super Bowl in Andy Reid's offense. That has no bearing on Mahomes. But because Brother Rich he bought a bow and arrow set from Walmart, and he wants to shoot me with it for whatever reason. That's okay, though. That's okay, though. It's all to the GO.
That's
That's a great one. I said, how come Russell Wilson didn't win MVP? Nobody said anything about Mahomes, but I digressionize. Anyway, this first one comes to us from the National Football League, or should I say the Not For Long. Also in pulling the tape, it seems to me somebody on this panel, or program, mentioned the rash of injuries that might take place in the NFL due to the lack of preseason games. Oh, but I was shot down so quickly. Well, here we will, right now, in this moment, mention not all, but a handful, some notably, the rash of injuries that have taken place after just 2 weeks in Brother Richard's Not For Long. From the Ravens, we have Tavon Young, out. Now, for how long? I don't know. From the Panthers, Christian McCaffrey, out for the season, I do believe. From the Denver Broncos, DeMarcus Walker, Drew Lock, out. For how long? Who knows. From the Packers, Lane Taylor, injury reserve. From the Jets, who cares? Arthur Maulet, injury reserve. From the Eagles, Double J's favorite fantasy player, Alshon Jeffrey, out. And from the 49ers, Brother Richard's buddies, pals, Nick Bosa and Solomon Thomas are out. Oh, and then last but not least, the Seahawks, Philip Dorsett, injury reserve. Marquise Blair, out. And then Bruce Irvin, out. And yet, my man Russ still got it done. Any thoughts on that? Double J? On the rash of injuries?
Again, if you were to check the tape, you would see that I specifically was defining the extent of the injury. A lot of these are soft tissue injuries, meaning ACLs and MCLs, things of that nature happen, unfortunately, very, very commonly. You've seen it even as bring up this horrendous memory for Lions fans, after / during a celebration. And so, unfortunately, it's the nature of the game. It is very much world-class athletes that have a Derrick Rose type of power, but also Derrick Rose type of knees as well. And so, unfortunately, those two do not sync with one another. Some not mentioned, obviously, Von Miller, referring to the Broncos as well, Le'Veon Bell on the Jets, and then, of course, Saquon Barkley from the Giants. But, again, those are giant names.
Indeed, they are. Brother Rich, before Brother Rich, you weigh in, I just want to ask Double J a question. He mentioned the types of injuries. So what bearing does the type of injury have on the fact or whether or not there have been a rash of injuries? Brother Rich, please weigh in.
Well, I'm going to.
Oh, boy. Let me hold it.
I'm going to ride with him.
No, hold on. I know you're going to.
Because he said it.
I know you're going to ride with him. Can you just give me a second? Let me put my boots on first. Hold on. Okay, all right.
You put them on, Rose.
Yeah.
You pulled them up all the way?
Yeah, I got my.
Well, I'm going to agree with Truth. I'm going to agree with Truth.
Oh, stop it.
Double J did say exactly. No, sir. Double J did say exactly that about soft tissue issues. I, on the other hand, did not factor in that. However, here's my response to that. Injuries are a part of football, and whether they happen in preseason or whether they happen in the game, there is a factor that these players, you'll find that many of these players perhaps were not in the condition they should have been in. Some of this was related in San Francisco's case. There was a lot of talk, banter on the internet about whether or not the field itself was in the condition, and some players were complaining about poor field conditions in some places. You had other professionals that played. Tom Brady played. He's 40 years old. He didn't have an injury. Aaron Rodgers played. He's older. He didn't have an injury. You had the Rams played in a brand-new stadium, no injury. You had the Raiders playing in Vegas, no injury. So a lot of that was conditioning on an individual level as well. Let's not put that
Okay, let me say this to you. You all do not want me to go to profootballreference.com right now and list all of the players after 2 weeks who have had some sort of injury that have not been mentioned. When I was looking up stuff to I knew we were going to, I was going to throw that out here, this rash of injuries things. I said, let me get something to back up what my possible or what my claim was going to be. There are so many, and ordinarily, I'll pull something up and read from it. There were so many. I said, the heck with it. When I say it's too many to list, I started to count, and I had to stop after 3 million. Again, and I'm not saying that Double J is not speaking the truth, because he is. But speaking of truth, the rash of injuries has nothing to do with whether or not if they are of the soft tissue variety, the field conditions, and so on and so forth. The rash of injuries is directly correlated to the absence of preseason games. Now, again, we didn't say how many preseason games. That's still therein, lies the question. 4 or 2 or maybe even 3. But the rash of injuries after the first 2 weeks, yes, anybody can get hurt at any given time. Oh, and a sidebar. One of my closest sports colleagues said to me about Saquon Barkley, I'm glad you brought that up, Double J. He's injury prone. Now, we've had this discussion on the program on more than one occasion, but I seem to have to reiterate. When you say that so loosely, when that comes forthwith from your mouth, how can you utter those words and not first give thought to the occupational hazards of the job? We can say, oh, he can't stay on the field or he get hurt too much if we're talking any other sport that does not require collisions. If you know already that you're talking about a sport that requires collisions, then you have to figure out another way to say, the guy ain't in my fantasy lineup this week. I'm just saying. But again, after 2 weeks, I don't think I've seen this many injuries after the first 2 weeks of the NFL season, given the fact that it is a collision-type sport. Thank you very much. Will that be all? All right, I appreciate you. Yes, I should have gave a clap in that moment. It is rare that Double J, Barbershop J.
So you're clapping up yourself.
Yeah, why not? Why not? If people can go around proclaiming themselves to be the king.
Well, go ahead and clap up yourself. You still didn't prove that you're right. You just
I don't want to be right.
Again, Double J talked about this. He said about soft tissue injuries. He talked about that.
Okay.
And I'm saying you're not giving any credence to the fact that some of this is Double J. Interestingly, this is the person who tells us, as it relates to NBA players, it's not practice. It's them individually, and it's not their coaching. It is not their training. It's their individual. But in football, it's not their individual responsibility to stay in shape.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I've been around football too long. I've been around football too long.
Individual conditioning doesn't play a part of it?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I'm speaking strictly to the amount of injuries after 2 weeks of an NFL season versus any other season, given the fact that NFL injuries occur. Did you hear what I just said about somebody saying, quote unquote, a guy can't stay on the field? How blasphemous, forgive me,
now,
that is? I'm obviously giving credence.
Now here's Brother Rich, here's the difference.
Oh,
here's
boy.
The difference, what our host is trying to do. He's trying to defer.
I'm not trying.
At fault here.
No, I'm not.
And so
now, boy.
If we were to go and tally these up, so to speak, because there's year in and year out, there are injuries of the same caliber that take place during these quote-unquote preseason weeks. And what do you have? You have a fan base up in arms about meaningless games. And why are they getting thrown out there for something that means absolutely nothing And so for the year, for the first time, we don't have that now, albeit for virus-related reasons or rationale.
Or conditions.
And we're yielding the same result. At what point is it simply the nature of the game?
First of all, they're not the same amount after 2 weeks. That's the operative expression or term here. After 2 weeks, after the first 2 weeks, yes, the NFL is a collision sport. I just said that. I just did. And any injuries can happen on any given play, regardless of it's a preseason game or a regular season game or a playoff game. I'm specifically emphasizing after the first 2 weeks. Now, you can look this up, Double J, because I just did. ESPN, NFL.com, everybody is that I've looked, if you consider them a valid source. I didn't check Bleacher Report. But, yes, they are highlighting.
I don't.
Okay. Okay, well, that's fine.
Here's
but
why
I think it's important
it.
because and they're partners with the league. They want to encourage more games, more longer seasons. They want to say to the players, see, you're getting hurt now because you didn't do this, and you won't understand why we want to do this. And then you're going to get the pundits and the commentators. But I'm sure.
Oh, that was a shot. That was a shot. That was a shot.
If we got any good, we can get a couple of guys.
Seriously, brother,
right where you are, who are analytical, and we could pay them to produce numbers that say what we're saying, the same thing.
Hold it.
In the preseason game.
Hold it.
Football is a sport where you lose the top wide receiver in training camp.
Hold it.
A lineman or this one in training camp. So let's not talk about football as though it's not an injury, but in a sport where at any given moment somebody's going to be injured in a weird way. Their season is over. Hold it.
I resent.
Absolutely.
Hold it. I resent being called an analytical. I am philosophical in my sports commentary. I am not a fan of analytics as the end-all, be-all. I resent that 2,000,000%. But I've also said
I'm going to give our host some analytics here.
But Brother Richard, what do you?
2019.
What are you giving me analytics for?
We have.
He just made analytics seem like a bad thing.
You're drinking the media Kool-Aid
I'm
because
asking.
of the name.
I'm asking.
That's what this is about.
I'm asking. Oh, by the way, D. Gully from the CO Lum Bus is with us. Gully, what's happening?
Everything, man. I'm glad to be with you guys. I don't want to stop the energy because I'm excited here. But go ahead, let you go ahead, and I'll be right with you.
Yeah, appreciate that. Brother Richard just made it seem like analytics, quote unquote, is a bad thing, and I said after the first 2 weeks. So go ahead, Double J. What are you going to give us? Since I'm the bad guy, somebody has to be the villain.
We're all up in arms here. Here again, as you pointed out during the points that you've made here on the subject, you mentioned fantasy football, and you're absolutely right here that Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley go between picks 1 and 3. So with both of them going down, the media in itself is going to be in an uproar. The fact that people happen to, at least on the surface, it appeared that they were dropping like flies. I will stress this. ACL tears in 2019 in the NFL, and this is a decrease from 2018 by a total of 10 to 47. MCL tears decreased from 132 in 2018 to 109. So believe me, before you get on the hype train of we're in peril because we don't have the pointless games, believe me, the hamstrings, 610 in 2019. It actually increased by 25%. So I am not buying this nonsense. I get it. It's everybody's fantasy team in the upper echelon, if you will, of those players. And you never want to see a player get hurt, regardless if they're picked first
or dead last or undrafted. It ultimately here, I want everybody to just settle down on the topic because unfortunately, as I'm pointing out with these stats, this is the nature of the game.
We knew that when we first got together to talk NFL. Hello. So then the question is, so going forward, the NFL should never have any preseason games anymore.
I would limit it. The only advantage
there it is.
preseason actually offers to the guys that were not drafted or drafted late.
Okay.
Because they have a much shorter window of and smaller window of opportunity
and making the team,
to make any kind of impact.
Gotcha.
Absolutely, and we see it time and time again. You know, Tom Brady is a perfect example of that. That if you're not drafted in the first 32, then you can still make a career out of this thing. So absolutely, I do believe there's a necessary evil for it, but I do believe there needs to be some changes, either structurally or fundamentally from the teams involved. And I think this year of that not happening, and we'll see how the injuries continue and where they ultimately will fall, year over year. And we'll kind of take it from there. And I'm sure they're evaluating all of this that we're discussing right now as well.
And for the record, I am a proponent of 2 preseason games, not 4. Gully, would you like to weigh in? Thank you very much.
I think, like you say, 2 preseasons. You don't need a whole lot. The reduced amount of activity, I think, is helpful. Given how long and how arduous the season is, especially in football. So I think 2 games is more than enough sample size to be able to know where you're at as a team, and then be able to start, broadcasting and having us pay for, as fans and as viewers, legitimate football.
Oh, and on a side note, no sports intended, next week's show, should everything play itself out the way I'd like for it to, we will be discussing politics somewhat or to some degree. There's an article by a Cleveland Plain Dealer columnist I follow. His name is Brent Larkin, and he wrote a piece on the current president. And I think regardless of which party you're affiliated with, I think the piece was written unbiasedly and necessary to be discussed on this platform, again, for our No Sports Intended segment that we do, but we have not done, unfortunately, in quite some time. I haven't found anything really juicy, so to speak, or interesting to discuss for that particular segment, and I found this article. In addition to I forget the title of the article, but again, we'll read it and we'll go through it. There was something else as well. I can't remember it now, but I will hopefully by the time Showtime next Tuesday. But I'm with you. I think it should be 2 preseason games. If you're up and around, you're out and about, and you want to give us a shout, that number to call is area code 267-687-0026. Once again, that number to call is area code 267-687-0026. 0026. Boy, I was coming through kind of loud on that last one. Well, I got to tone it down a bit, huh? All right. This next one, comes to us also from the National Football League, and it's our 3 games to watch. Oh, and again, there won't be any sports discussions next week. 3 games to watch for week 3. Number 1, of course, being Brother Rich and Double J's favorite subject. And please, can we not spend 22 hours, the remaining 22 hours of the show on this one, because there are 3. But I'd like to start off with Washington, or should I say the Washington football team at the Cleveland Browns. And I have a question in particular about the Browns. Are the Cleveland Browns for real? Well, 2-part question. And should Chubb and Hunt be the features for the Cleveland Browns? Brother Rich. And can we please?
Absolutely and absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely and absolutely.
Okay.
And can we say dog pound?
Oh, my
for
gosh.
life?
Oh,
and
my.
absolutely the Browns are for real, because you saw it in the performance this week. You see it in Baker's performance. performance. You see it in the defense. You see it in the fellas. You see it in the fact that they're quietly going about their work this year. And in fact, as I said to you via text off this wonderful program to you and Double J, the Browns will disappoint a lot of people their Sundays, but it'll be the other way around. They think we're going to be disappointed. But a lot of teams that have plans, we're going to upset a lot of apple carts. We're going to disappoint a lot of people's big teams' plans this year.
Would one of those people be moi?
Well, I'm not going to call any names. I'm just going to say they live in Dallas.
Got you. Double J, you had a question that was sent via text amongst you and I and Brother Rich about the fullbacks, not fullbacks plural, but the fullback role in the NFL. And to your point, even though we will at some point still discuss that, do the Browns necessarily, with Kareem and Chubb in the backfield, do they really need a fullback?
Well, as it was, this is where it ties directly into that question because of the evolution of the sport. And this really comes back down to the purist side of the game. I could give you an example in your Dallas game. I'm sure that you were watching.
No, actually, I was not.
Cattle.
I was not. Continue.
You were in attendance. I heard y'all let people in.
You know the Cleveland Crunch is coming back, don't you? And when you talk about attendance, I do not, you and Double J, of course, being the soccer aficionados, I repeat, do not want to see you in attendance at the Cleveland Crunch games, or it's going to be on. It's going to be a lot of slow singing and flower bringing. Continue, Double J.
Well, in a league that we've seen other halfbacks, if you will, lining up in that role, we've seen offensive linemen, such as even dating back to William the Fridge, and even tight end, defensive backs. Basically, everyone not listed on the depth chart as a fullback played the position in 2020. I believe with the dual threat that they have, the third best player on that team is Jarvis Landry.
So you don't think the Browns should have a fullback?
They are.
You don't think they should have a fullback?
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah.
I believe with a lot, and this holds true really for just the current way that the NFL is being played today, with a lot of basically operating out of the shotgun.
Yeah,
almost entirely.
Yeah.
It's almost like why no team prior to 2020 ever attempted the small ball in the NBA, because we didn't rely on the 3-point line like we do today. Obviously, you and I and Brother Rich and Gully have gone into great depth in what these shot charts look like these days.
Yeah.
So again,
they look like shot.
Concern though. Absolutely. So what's potentially concerning, and this is why you have to look at it in a historical context, is it evolution or de-evolution? Are you going forward or are you going backward with something like that?
That's a good question.
And so this is that's why I think I want to kind of table it. But I believe, at least for the Browns, you want to have all of your weapons out there. I understand the logic and rationale, or the Bruce Arians concept with what he's trying to do with Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I believe that theory will be short-lived, and you'll see, for example, Leonard Fournette out there in the first quarter, not just in the second half. So ultimately, here, when push comes to shove, you need your studs out on the field, because they do you no good on the sideline.
Yeah, and kudos actually to the Browns, man. That offensive line is a whole lot better. And they had a couple of guys out, if you ask. I think Conklin was out, that offensive line. And it starts in the trenches. To me, that's where your success, whatever success you enjoy as an NFL franchise, starts in the trenches on that D line and that offensive line. Gully, are the Browns?
You are saying all of this?
Huh?
Is this Jay saying this?
I've been.
Is this barbershop Jay? from
Man,
Dallas saying
stop. Man, stop it. I said that when we first. Yeah. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Gully, you want to weigh in? You see, Brother Richard up here. He done went and bought a new bow and arrow set. He's just taking shots, man. He's just winging them.
He's shocked and appalled and flabbergasted and bamboozled.
Yeah,
yes, we have the capacity to. We have the capacity, Brother Rich, to offer great compliment and give kudos where kudos are due to the Browns. I mean, we've seen a lot of misery, and it don't come from. There's a difference between misery and heartbreak. Heartbreak is the drive, the fumble. You follow me? Misery is
21-97 in the division. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? Yeah.
Yeah. So seeing what we're seeing from Cleveland at 1-1, the way that they're doing, we can offer. We have the capacity to see the good. That's not just reserved to the bandwagon riders.
Thank you.
Rich. Like a Frenchman. I admire you ride with your family like a Frenchman and music that we stuff. But we know that you are a much more nuanced individual than the hate that we get from somebody else. We'll call no names in this.
Yeah, please, no names, no names. But anyway, like the Miami Dolphins defense.
I'll say barbershop Kozar, absolutely.
Hey, that's not.
Wow, that's a compliment.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a. Yeah, you should.
That was a backhanded insult, which reverts to a compliment.
Hey, but guess what? It took him all of 15 minutes to come up with that when he actually gave me a compliment. Darn. Try again. Yeah, that's a compliment. What are you saying?
Here. All right. You.
Gully wasn't finished with his comment. What he was saying?
What did you ultimately do? You took your talents to Dallas.
That's alleged. That's coming from you and Brother Rich. Man, nobody buying that. That's why I put my boots on halfway through the program. Anyway, and then Brother Rich, you talking about you appreciate him riding with your French cousin. It's you and Double J team up on me. Gully is a WWE aficionado. Hello, it's 2-on-2, baby, Survivor Series. Anywho, Gully, were you finished with your thought before you were so rudely interrupted by Stefanski and Pelt?
No, but real quickly, I think the challenge was whether a fullback, a true fullback, is necessary for the Browns, considering what they have in their backfield. Is that right?
Yeah, sort of, kind of. I was sort of kind of asking, are the Browns for real? But Double J and I had kind of been going back and forth, off the show, or whatever, about whether or not if a fullback is necessary in today's NFL. That was just something for him.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah, that was just something for him.
Yeah, it becomes a lot. You know what? I'll tell you what. The parallel between a fullback being necessary in today's NFL it could be made the same about the traditional big men being necessary in today's NBA. The fullback, I guess the fullback you can allude to being like a center, like Jokic in Denver. If used traditionally, and if that player is talented enough, then you can have a lot of advantages. Still, the game hasn't gone away from the advantages that a fullback could bring. A Lorenzen Neal, even in today's era, would be greatly appreciated by many teams. With a halfback.
Oh shucks, even Mike Allstott,
extra block. You know what I mean?
Mike Allstott,
right.
My goodness.
Yeah, Mike. Absolutely. It's a shame that he and Ward Dunn didn't have much postseason success.
It is.
That's a shame. That was a 1-2 for you.
It is.
But as far as the Browns, real quickly, because I keep moving you forward, are the Browns for real? I like this is a much better showing this week. I know it was Cincinnati or what have you. It was a much better showing. It was a competent team that we saw out there. And, the fact that they became a bit of a struggle, that's great. I mean, because any given Sunday. So this is a much spirited showing. I like to see what it means this week to see if we're trending upward or not. Because, the Browns can go 6-10 and beat, every team that they're not supposed to beat.
Yeah, it comes out. Fill it out. Let it come out. Let it get out.
Oh yeah, it's there because it's there. So
that's what Brother Richard.
Listen, under that crust, under that nice moraine,
the Browns, we know what's coming behind that. If you use the Cowboys, no matter what, they could burn crosses on the field. Jerry West.
Oh my gosh, that's extreme.
On the field.
That's
It's
extreme.
going to be great. About
That's
the
extreme.
Cowboys.
Nobody's
We know
saying
it is
that.
The poor Browns. We know
No.
that this is what's coming. Venom is coming.
No.
It's going to spill out. Keep
But
going.
listen,
Okay,
let me hold on.
the record before that and the record before
hold on.
that.
That's
And the record
thank
before
you.
that,
Let me say
and the
that.
record before that.
Let me say that.
Tell me that the consistency of the Browns being woefully inconsistent and woefully bad at all the wrong times
It's not the
is
truth.
not there. And so when
It's
I
not
offer
true.
my critique and optimism, like, hey, let's see if this trends upward, you tell me that's unfounded.
That's what I'm saying. You act as if though it comes from a place. This comes from a place of we was Browns fans before we even met. We've been going through this with this team.
It's the past tense.
I said we were. Okay, no. No.
When did the last time the Cowboys won a ring?
I don't
Listen.
know what a Cleveland Browns Super Bowl ring looks like.
Thank you.
I don't even know what a Cleveland
Thank
Browns
you.
AFC Championship ring looks
Listen,
like.
let me say this. Let me say this. Any jabs or barbs regarding the Browns is really it don't carry nothing because we've watched, unless you've lived through the fumble and the drive. Believe me, we have more than enough reason to be skeptics and optimistic. We have that right. We absolutely do. Because you all have not lived through the drive and them moving the team too. Man, if you survive all of that, you darn right. This comes from that place. Not this new place where everybody got on rose-colored glasses. Hello, not happening. Not about to be the case. Yeah. In our second game,
organization drafted.
Thank you.
Weeden
Yeah. We lived through all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, we lived through all of that.
This organization had a head coach who decided not to draft the running back that led him, I think, to a national championship.
Oh, don't
named
even
Clinton Porter.
Let's not even.
You please give me some margin of error, if you will, Brother Rich, for me being cautiously optimistic.
All of those are correct past tense. They happened in the past, which is why I could relate to the fact that your team hadn't won anything in 30 years. The Dallas Cowboys.
First of all, they're not my team. I don't like horses. I don't like horses in particular because Denver Bronco, they're whatever you call it, is a horse. Okay? I haven't liked horses since John Elway. So anything horses related to horses is absolutely incorrect. Let's that first. But yeah, anyway, seeing how we're talking about Dallas, that is the second game of our three. I knew we was going to be on this for 100 minutes. But anyway, it's fine with me.
No wonder.
Yeah, the Cowboys at the Seahawks. Who, by the way, the latter of the two.
Surprised we're discussing this game.
Yeah, we discussed the Browns. Fair exchange ain't no robbery. Anyway, the Seahawks, by the way, are my choice to be the NFC rep in the Super Bowl this year. I think they got to deal with the Packers at some point. But nonetheless, I'm a fan of Russell Wilson. Yes, I am. The Cowboys at the Seahawks. And the question is this Russell Wilson's MVP season? Gully, weigh in.
Why on earth wouldn't it be?
Well, let Brother Richard and Double J tell it. You know, there's
He
continue. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Say again?
No, never mind. Go ahead. It's not even no names.
No. Yeah, why wouldn't it be? This certainly is, like I say, trending, right? Consistency. When is he? He's consistently been a quarterback. Been the quarterback to beat. On the sun. Night in and night out, or game in and game out. I think they have a lot to prove. I think to a large degree they underachieved last year, and having almost rebuilt the identity of that team around him from the Legion of Boom to what they are now, he's certainly proven capable of carrying that load, and he's performing the way he should. I definitely think this is his MVP season. I would like to see that be followed up with some retribution for how they performed in that Super Bowl all those years ago.
Yeah, Pete Carroll, blame the coaching for that.
Too far ahead.
Yeah, blame the coaching for that. Pete Carroll doesn't get aboard of Marshawn Lynch, my man, a.k.a. Skittles, at the 1 yard. Anyway, that's a bit of revisionist history we will not revisit. Brother Rich, is this Russell Wilson's MVP season?
Is Patrick Mahomes still playing football? Are we still talking about this game of football? Okay.
Okay. Okay, so it's not. All right, that's fine.
All right, so wait a minute. I'm sorry. Can I challenge that real quick?
Please.
When will Patrick Mahomes not be like? That's almost like saying, because I'm gonna tell you what. I think where you're at, right? You're kind of like putting Patrick Mahomes right now, and I know it's early in his career, but you're putting him kind of like in that, like Michael Jordan.
He said that.
Era.
He already. He already said that.
So
he already said that.
When I went and
But
so
Gully,
there was never a time when a guy could usurp, if you will, Michael Jordan as being the most valuable player. Like I just give one example. If no other time. So when Charles Barkley won MVP in '93, like there was no room for that.
Oh, not of course. Listen, Brother Rich thinks LeBron should have won the MVP, a regular season award, over Giannis.
No, I do not.
Oh, you don't? Oh, sorry. So in other words, I had a Brother Richard moment. I just added some more stuff to your resume, even though you wasn't there. No, Ossifer. I didn't commit that. I didn't commit that crime. Yeah, well, you must have did all these other 10 burglaries. Seeing how we caught you for this one, Brother Rich likes to just add more stuff to something that ain't. But go ahead. I'm sorry. You do not. Okay, got you. Yeah, but he says Patrick Mahomes is the MVP. There's no room for Russell Wilson. Can we move on to Double J now? Tragic this particular program is today. Tragedy. Or disgusting, should I might say. Double J, is this Russell Wilson's MVP season?
Well,
oh, boy. Here we go. Well.
As much as you seem to, our host.
Oh, now I get the credit I deserve. Got you.
Certain players. We talked about Donovan McNabb's best year with, 33 touchdowns. And now Russell Wilson is on pace to be the MVP. Now, keep this in mind. Russell Wilson has never thrown more than 35 touchdown passes.
So what that got to do with whether or not he's to be the MVP?
4,300 yards.
So the MVP, hold it. Slow down, Kemosabe, slow it down. So the MVP, because Brother Rich so succinctly or aptly pointed out that analytics, quote unquote, is irrelevant. So we attaching the MVP solely to how many touchdown passes? Or should I have let you finish? Because I thought MVP meant most valuable player. Is Russell Wilson the most valuable player to the Seahawks? Because I'm going somewhere else with that. I'm asking that first.
To that particular franchise. However,
okay.
Again, this is the point that I'm trying to make here.
Okay.
Is that last year in a 14-2 team with Lamar Jackson, he led the league with 36 touchdown passes. But it was Mahomes 2 years prior that upon winning the MVP, again, had 50 touchdown passes. So this is why we're making the case, sir, that the best of someone, when their star is shining the brightest, it is still dwarfed by these red giants that are folks like Patrick Mahomes, who I get it had a poor showing in week 2, but I believe, again, they got the win. That is all that matters. But in Russell Wilson's case, again, I will ultimately say that he is on pace. As it stands right now, I believe this is the most talented receiving core he has ever had in the National Football League.
DK Metcalf. DK. Oh, did I say that already? Sorry. One more for the cheering section. DK Metcalf. My bad. Continue.
However, this is where the concern now the case for MVP. I'll stick to the case for MVP.
Oh boy.
I believe he will have to will his team to win. San Francisco will not make the playoffs. Obviously, we discussed that in the last topic, and how the whole team has now been shelved for Week 3. So they're out of the
Yeah,
way.
decimated by
The Rams
injuries. Yeah,
Are
the Rams.
Yeah, so the Rams, they got the fancy new stadium with recliner seats and that nobody can sit in. But they're not competing on the football field unless it's against Dallas, of course. Kyler Murray is someone that you need to be very familiar with and acclimated with because he shares the same division as Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
And that is going to determine, in my mind, in 2020, who your MVP will be, with the exception of the man he just beat 2 nights ago, which was Cam Newton. Because you want to talk about who's important to who? Brady and Belichick and all of that nonsense. Cam Newton was involved, I want to say, in 95% of his team's offensive plays.
Absolutely. I'm a Cam Newton guy.
Ball, he ran the ball.
I like Cam Newton. That was a good game too, by the way. That was a good game. I wish they hadn't called that play at the end.
They're not.
I'm with you. You mentioned Cam Newton's name. You're not going to get no argument from me. Not a one argument from me. Nope, nada. And the last game of our 3 games to watch is, lo and behold, the Chiefs at the Ravens. And the question is, of which, barring injury, represents the AFC in this year's Super Bowl, Brother Rich?
Well, I think we all on this program know where I stand as it relates to the Chiefs.
No, we want to hear it again.
That organization.
Please.
Currently. And I think that, so in any conversation, you could just check the box for me with Chiefs. And I'm no different in this.
Okay, well, there it is. That's not a bad selection at all. Double J, since Brother Rich.
I mean, unlike Dallas, where we're not ever sure what we're going to get.
But you just asked, was Dak going to get paid? But you just want to ask, was Dak going to get paid? You see what I'm saying? Do you not want Dak to get paid? I digress. Double J.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Double J. Of which Chiefs, Ravens, barring injury, represents the AFC in this year's Super Bowl?
Through 2 games, I will say the Baltimore Ravens.
But they just lost. But they just lost. Wasn't Tavon a nickel corner?
Correct.
Yeah, they just lost. They lost him for the season, I believe. ACL. But that's the Ravens. I think I kind of get where you're going with that. That's the Ravens. They always they seem to have an answer. So, but I don't know, man. I'd like to that if that's the AFC Championship. Wow. If that's the AFC Championship, the Chiefs and the Ravens will be the most. And here's another question, right quick. You think it'll be the most watched AFC Championship game in terms of viewership numbers? More so maybe than a Super Bowl?
I'm going to say, Jay, I'm going to say that entire AFC playoff.
You think so?
Because, again, you're talking about Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to have Deshaun Watson in there this year.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
You're going to have Mahomes.
I caught that, Brother Rich.
Jackson.
Yeah, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson,
Cam
Newton. Who else you think? AFC.
And I'll leave it open ended as far as who can essentially play their way in, because those are division winners.
Yeah, well, yeah, I couldn't argue that. That's a good point. I couldn't argue that. Gully, of the 2 Chiefs, Ravens, barring injury, represents the AFC, in your estimation, in this year's Super Bowl?
Ravens. Historically, I can say even in John Harbaugh's coaching tenure, the Ravens have had some bitter losses and then rebounded the following season to perform better. It's in their culture to at least avenge or to do very well avenging their losses, coming up short. By that, I referenced that Lee Evans pass to the end zone to Joe Flacco in 2012 in Foxborough that would have led them to a Super Bowl versus the Giants.
Yep.
And they followed up the next year by beating the Patriots to advance to the Super Bowl. So and win it. So considering how they shockingly lost to a Tennessee Titan team that had a very great strategy. Obviously, the season ended short for them. I feel like they're playing with that. They're playing again with that same type of vigor. I'm looking at, if stats matter at all, I just look at point differential. They put up 71 points thus far these first 2 weeks of the season, and they've only allowed 22.
Dang.
I think their point differential is, there's the only team that comes close is the Green Bay Packers, and that's in the NFC. So point differential, they're scoring and not allowing you to score, and that's even after dismissing one of their key, key players.
Yeah,
and so even after the dismissal, I know that injury, it may prove a challenge for them, but I trust that philosophically, 1 through 12. Is up for the challenge. I like what I see out of them. I like them avenging because they're a competent team. Even before I get to the numbers, even with the numbers just qualify what it is I said. So I like the Ravens this year.
Or in this case, you can say the numbers.
I like them right now.
In this case, you can say the numbers validate. If you're up and around,
validate. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Validate. Yeah, if you're up and around, you're out and about, and you want to give us a shout, we are now entering the second half or portion of the P-Rogram. The number to call is area code 267-687-0026. Once again, that number is area code 267-687-0026. And as always, the shop report is now being powered by none other than Rocket Digital Media, the one-stop shop for all your digital marketing needs. Next up, or our next one, should I say, comes to us from the National Basketball Association. Or you ain't got no business. Never mind, I ain't going to even say that last one. Yeah, the NBA bubble. Let's talk about the East-West Finals Showdown. Brother Rich, we'll of course, start with you. Should we just crown the Lakers right now?
Without a doubt. Already done. I'm sure they already got LeBron's ring sized up. And Anthony Davis and the old boys. It's almost like it's written by this. Almost like they got some guy to write a script and say this is how I want it to go, and we want it to look and sound exactly like this in the bubble to keep these people entertained, and it's going according to plan thus far. Yeah,
it looks like it's been well thought out, or should I say planned out. Double J. Should we just crown the Lakers right now?
It was well timed out or timed out. Timed out.
Got you. I like that, Brother Rich. You regained some points with me, but only a point and a half. You still minus or down 27. Meanwhile, Double J, should we just crown the Lakers now?
Well, we could have crowned them, when we first returned back to basketball.
Oh, yeah, well.
The only way they weren't going to win this thing was if, we either didn't come back, resume the season, or due to the racial injustices and social injustices taking place in our society, they decided to not play any longer. Those were the only two ways. But ever since the Mamba was taken from us, they were going to try to Hollywood fairy tale write this story that it's for him in GG, and unfortunately I want no part of it. I will not tune in until we're on the 2021.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. I'm kind of glad in that instance that when the games are most being shown.
So what?
I'm at
I'm
work.
sorry.
Yeah, Gully, it's on you. Yeah, should we just crown the Lakers now?
So what part of this narrative included the Clippers getting the Clippers choking? Like, listen.
Can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, please do, because I got more, but please do.
And speak up, Brother Rich.
Start with this.
Go ahead.
Well, let me start with this. Here's where it starts. It starts like so. When you look at the Clippers, who, unfortunately, it was a team that a lot was known about. They were not a quote-unquote together team, as it were. We now know these dynamics, but some of them was playing out in the media prior to this. You have an individual like Paul George who comes out openly and says, I'm struggling with this and such. Then let's look at the games now. When I'm talking about what we perceive may have happened, we have facts. You can pull the tape on these games and look. You have Jokic being allowed pretty much to freestyle, to do anything he wants to do, and any touch foul is in fact a foul. So you're getting the momentum of the defense being thrown off. When they are on offense, the Clippers, their shots are not falling, but when they go to the basket or when they make hard plays, you find them getting called for ticky-tack fouls. You find now, so as basketball is a game of rhythm, and your rhythm is easy to be thrown off. When you get Patrick Beverly, go check the tape, who has consistent foul trouble, and he goes to the bench. So there's your rhythm. When you got Paul George is not having his jumper going the way it is, so you can play with his head by making him be more careful in terms of the ticky-tack kind of fouls that you're calling, getting him to the bench, not necessarily fouling him out, but giving him a quick two or giving him one or doing the things you do as a lead if you're orchestrating something, perhaps. And you watch Jokic, which is if you go watch when they played the Lakers the first game, I believe Double J checked the timeline that Jokic had maybe 3 fouls within like 10 minutes. Because now when they're playing the Lakers, he got to sit on the bench. He got to be out because we need to clear the way for Bron to go. And I'm not making up anything that Tim Donaghy, I went and looked at his words. And I'll ask the listeners, go listen to what Tim Donaghy says. He says it's not a big thing. It's not a planned out, orchestrated nuclear event. It's done very, very subtly. And we're watching it in real time happening right before our eyes. That is a fact.
Yeah,
that's what Double J is saying. They wrote the script. They wanted the Lakers to win, and they know how to do it just right, just so that we watching the game, we're not seeing, depending on your emotion and what team you're really going for, you don't necessarily pay attention to it, but when you go back and listen to what Tim Donaghy said he did and others have done, and he can tell it's still being done, he said, watch. And we can see, when you know the game of basketball, you can feel something is wrong here.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, I got 2 words for you, Arnold Rothstein. That's number 1. Number 2, the thing that has beset the Clippers or was a detriment to the Clippers is now an asset to the Lakers, which, of course, we saw in Game 1. You talk about fouls. Jokic, the whole Nuggets starting 5 was in foul trouble probably before the second quarter began. Number 3, to be honest, though, the Clippers, Jokic is a better big than what the Clippers had to throw at them. And I love Montrezl Harrell. He's really like a Draymond Green type energy guy. I'm not saying literally. I'm just saying figuratively. That's what comes to mind when I watch him.
That's just it right there, Jay. You're making my point. Because if the Clippers would have been allowed to play their style, because they know that he's a very skilled big man. But their style is not his skill. Their style would have been to rough him up. And in normal NBA run, they're allowed to rough him up.
Yeah, of course.
They weren't allowed to do that in this series.
But here's the thing, too, though. Would you talk?
Can I just point this out, guys?
Hold on.
Just briefly, I want to say this.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The average NBA game, the average amount of fouls is 48.1.
Okay.
Now, you guys
that's
tell me.
That's a combination of both teams?
Now, with that being said, the league itself has stated that the majority of those infractions, the overwhelming majority of those infractions are subjective.
Oh, well, who's
Now,
yeah.
Tim Donaghy, on the
Yeah.
other hand, was winning 80% of his bets, of his picks, rather, we'll call it. If you haven't been listening to the Whistleblower podcast, I encourage you to do so if you're not listening to the Shop Report. And I will leave it at that. They may, again, generally when RICO charges, and if it's not RICO charges, they usually get the one guy. But my understanding of this is that, as you pointed out, Barbershop, with Rothstein, the rabbit hole goes a little bit deeper.
Yeah, but here's the deal, though. Here's the deal, and I'm in agreement with everything everybody said. But I've been saying this line, Double J, before you even were a part of this program, before I even met Brother Richard, and Gully and I go farther back, and he can tell you, no sporting event is completely left up to chance. This is why I don't have no more dogs in the fight. But to Brother Richard's point, the era I grew up in, they allowed for more action. You had to work harder to get it. It was still there, though. Stop me when I'm lying, Brother Rich. Have we not had these conversations in the barbershop?
Fact. Absolutely.
This is why I don't have no dog in the fight anymore. This is why I don't gamble anymore. This is why I don't do any of that stuff anymore. And I'm not knocking those who do, but I keep trying to tell one of my coworkers, my cat, RB, I be saying, look, man, I don't have no dog in the basketball. I grew up, but look, at the end of the day, it's the reason why I call it brandsketball. Okay? And we all know, regardless of whether it's a sport or not, when it comes to brand, what's the number one objective of brand? Okay? That's what we're seeing here. The Today BA, this new BA. Man, come on now. Yeah, we've been saying it here. And on the whatever podcast Double J mentioned, that was not that I was not listening to you, but again, senility is real. So yeah, none of this stuff is completely left to chance. We see it. Matter of fact, ever since they came out with this 2-minute report, this is how I'm telling you, they think folks are dumb that watch it. And when the folks who run it think that the folks who watch it are dumb, what do? They put it right in your face. The 2-minute report. Have you ever seen a 2-minute report that was consistent with how the game played out? No. If you find one, let me know. I'll be the first one to tell you. But every 2-minute report that come out, we missed that call. Obviously. Yeah, we should have did. Yeah, come on now. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man, we see what's going on here. But you can't tell. Again, that's why I said my sports commentary and what I base mine on is because I'm a reader. It's philosophical. It's not fandom. And that's too often the case when you hear, and people, I don't know why, and I want to say it's human nature, but I'm not going to even be disrespectful to human nature like that. People who have all this debates and all this commentary, they get all the information from television. Skip Bayless said Brandon Wheaton was a steal for the Browns in the draft. Now, I ain't always right, but I ain't said nothing that wrong. And yet folks tune in every week because they feel like the guy who getting paid or on the that's why they call it television. Man, stop it, man. That's why I want to know what you think and what you think and what you think and why this panel is what this panel is. Man, I be trying to tell people all the time, man. And you don't think he should have, man, I'm not about to get out my hook about some stuff. How you going to get, the dog barks at the moon, but the moon shows no indication of being disturbed. How you going to get salty about something you knew was the case before it was the case? Before you got yourself in the situation. But I digress. Gully, did the refs' calls, quote unquote, make the difference in game 1 of the Nuggets-Lakers?
It's unfortunate. I think so. I think it like you say, I think it's already been well established that the idea of contriving a result through refs calls, I think is a bit far-fetched. But the idea of controlling or creating the setting by which a game can be influenced by the ref calls, is definitely up to par. But I think it's definitely on point, I should say. But I tell you what, I begrudgingly don't want to take too much away from what the Lakers and LeBron James is doing for that team.
You mean Anthony Davis?
Nah, I mean LeBron James.
You mean Anthony Davis?
And no, I mean
you
LeBron
mean Anthony
James.
Davis? Yes, you do. Stop it.
No, I know. No, listen. I'm gonna tell you exactly why. Because
I'm so tired of hearing about the Lakers, but not hearing about Anthony Davis.
I'm gonna make it very. Listen,
I'm tired of hearing about the Lakers and not hearing about Anthony Davis first.
I'm gonna make this very plain.
Please do.
The Showtime Lakers last repeat at 87 and 88. Correct? Those they won the finals. 87 and 88. Right?
I see where you're going with this, but I'm gonna crack your head. Go ahead.
Who was their best player?
Really? That's a senility question?
Who was their best
And you know
player?
I have trouble with remembering things.
Who was their best player, Jay?
I don't know. You tell me. I don't remember.
Okay, the best player was not the best performer because the performer will show up in the stats. James Worthy, per Magic Johnson's own admission, was the guy that got them them through. Okay? James Worthy, I mean, from end to end, I know you had Kareem. And take nothing away from him. I know you had Kareem, but James Worthy was the guy whose performance, night in and night out, in the clutch, especially in the playoffs and in the finals, was the guy that got him through. What LeBron James is doing right now, I can't really take much away from him right now. I'm going to tell you he's their best player, while Anthony Davis is being their best performer. And if they've got a little help from the refs or whatnot, it goes back to my WWE formula. I mean, Ric Flair made it look convincing, even though it might have been staged. But the whole point is it looked convincing. He's doing enough, man. It's hard for me to take too much away from them what they're doing right now.
Okay, I'm not
going
asking
to say that he's the greatest of all time.
Well, that's not the question.
I'm not making a GOAT argument here.
Yeah, that's not the question.
I'm not. It's a lot. It's a lot being said about his effectiveness, at least in year 17. That I haven't seen in years. I haven't seen even during this prime.
Okay, well, let me say this.
Take away from what the Lakers are doing.
Let me say this. You mentioned Magic and then Worthy's performance. Don't put Bron and Magic in the same sentence because I'm going to tell you this about Magic Johnson. How many people at the end of a game have discussion about the body of the game? And instead, the discussion is about moments in the game. Signature moments, signature players. You all remember that line? Yeah, okay. I remember distinctly Magic saying, I messed up. Whatever that year is, he said, I dribble out the clock. And then we all know that moment. When Kareem was wide open, Magic took the hit the baby hook shot. Because that's the moment that they always show when they go replaying Lakers games from way back when. And that's the moment that they always talk about. Oh, and then another moment. As a rookie, playing center in his first finals in place of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. What were the analytics? The statistics? Magic got 2 moments. There are probably more, but again, senility strikes me at moments. It comes and goes. There are 2 moments I can distinctly remember that in the moment, Magic was the moment, even if somebody else was the better performer. You can't say that about this guy, 17 years or not, in this Western Conference Finals. Because real spit, my son asked me about that last play with Plumlee stopping and so on and so forth. Do you know the conversation is Plumlee messed up? If you know basketball, and I'm not saying nobody here don't, and I'm not saying those who watch don't, I'm saying if you know basketball, kind of using that loosely here. If you go back and look at that play, go back to the beginning, the sequence, the beginning of that play. Go and look at Plumlee's left arm. He was pointing. You know who was at fault on that play defensively for the Nuggets? Grant. Go back and look at that play, then come holler at me. Because I'm not going to give the answer as to why. I'm going to have my son on here next week. No, not next week. Of course, we're not doggone it. When we're going to talk about this before it's all said. It's going to come back around. Just, that's what we do. We find a way to bring it back around and have a new spin on it. I'm going to have my son on. And I'm going to have him I'm gonna let you, we're gonna be all on, and I'm gonna call him. I'm gonna let him tell you what I said and what I showed him in that breakdown. See, it's one thing to watch the game, but it's another thing to know what you're looking at or for or at. Plumlee was not at fault. And the way, you've heard me say this again and again and again, the way teams defend the pick and roll in the Today BA is horrendous. It's horrendous. In that moment, for the Lakers, AD get the nod, baby. AD. Double J. Did the refs' calls make the difference in Game 1, Nuggets and Lakers? Excuse me for my mini rant, but I got to get one in.
Well, of course it does. Again, we're setting a tempo here for how these games are going to be officiated. I can give a good example of that with the breakdown of Game 2 of the Rockets versus Lakers series, in which Scott Foster had made 13 calls while the next closest referee had made 5. So, absolutely, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, because we don't even want to go into that chapter Donaghy wrote in his book. Brother Rich, you kind of already alluded to it, but I'll ask the question of you again, or to you again. Did the refs' calls make the difference in Game 1, Nuggets-Lakers?
I absolutely believe it will make a difference. And it made a difference, and it will continue to make a difference. Nevertheless, I will also agree with Gully that absolutely LeBron has shown that his 17-year record continues to be intact. We must give him credit. I've always given LeBron credit for being a phenom. He's a physical specimen. We've never seen somebody do what he's done. My conversation surrounding LeBron.
Too bad that physical. Too bad being a physical
to do with
specimen.
What I think of him as an individual, and what I think of him as what he's done in his tenure, and how he's repped himself and the NBA.
Yeah,
nevertheless, being a Kobe fan, Kobe will always be my GOAT, followed by Michael Jordan, and then they can have the conversations after that.
Yeah,
but nevertheless, he's done a phenomenal job in keeping himself and being a leader and bringing that team together. And obviously, he is the leader, and the team has coalesced around him. And so I have to agree with Gully that you have to give him some credit, but it helps to have the league and the referees and everybody else on your side. It just helps to have
it. Anyway, too bad being a physical specimen didn't help Goliath, right? Yeah. Next question, which is a two-part question. And the last one.
No refs either.
Yeah, it was.
Right.
It was. It was the three wise men. Anyway, this is a two-part question, and it was. They was out there. I was there. Trust me, believe me, I'm that old. This is a two-part question, and the last one for today's program. The Heat or the Celtics? Which team has the best chance of making the finals, and can either dethrone the Lakers? Gully.
Miami Heat. If we want to see anything close to a competitive NBA Finals, we're going to see the Miami Heat. I think they're complete. I think they're physical enough. They're athletic enough. And I believe the experience that Spoelstra has coaching LeBron, though people may say he's uncoachable, I think that will show up. The experience that Iguodala has in defending LeBron in the clutch in those moments will show up. I think there's a question of depth when it comes to the Heat versus the Lakers, but I believe that they're more than a spirited challenger to beat the Lakers in the NBA Finals, and I think they are talented enough, at least 1 through 5, to actually make some surprises.
Interesting take. Brother Rich?
The Miami Heat, Lakers is 3.5.
Really? You just full of them today, huh? You just all in it, huh? I'm gonna need you to lay off that sugar that you put. How many cups of spoonfuls of sugar do you put in your coffee? My
No
gosh.
sugar for me. No sugar for me. Sir.
No sugar?
For me.
All right, no sugar. No domino for the man.
Jerry Jones got all the sugar.
Seriously? I for the record, I use Splenda. Double J. The Miami Heat or the Boston Celtics in the finals? And can either dethrone Brother Rich's Lakers?
Well, I'm actually going to oppose our two co-hosts, and I'm going to go Boston.
What? You going
The
against
reason
Brother
why
Richard?
is
You know that's a felony. You do know that's a felony. You can't go
No.
against Brother Richard. What?
Well, we've talked about Hollywood script, right? And unfortunately, other than Jimmy Butler, there's not enough substance with the Miami Heat. They're too young. They're too raw. Again, you brought up I've heard Iguodala get mentioned. He's about the same age as LeBron at this point, if not older. So that's not enough. You're going Showtime Lakers versus, they're going to try to bring back the rivalry, so to speak. And Boston, truthfully, has the opposite of Miami when it comes to depth, and they've just gotten stronger, and that's why they blew them out in the last game, and I believe they're going to win again. And unfortunately for the Heat, they just don't have enough.
You don't think so?
But
So,
ultimately,
whoa,
no
whoa,
matter
whoa.
how much Splenda you put in that kettle, it
Oh,
will be
wow.
the Lakers in 3.5.
That was Brother Richard said that. Y'all want to really? You gonna ask me how much Splenda I put in the kettle for me to say 3.5? I didn't. That was Brother Richard said, and he gonna talk about some facts. You know what? Y'all worse than these politicians today. I'm trying to tell you. No, there's no such thing as global warming. Meanwhile, all the ice cubes are melting. I'm talking about the big ones. But anyway, yeah. As always, fellas, that's some good stuff for today. I appreciate y'all for coming on the P-Rogram. And on that note, it's been fun, but we got to run. We appreciate y'all for listening. Don't forget to check us out right here on the Spreaker.com network. Or you can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Apple Music, Google Podcast, and now, I'm proud to say, iHeartRadio. Or wherever you can listen, to your favorite podcast and give us a follow. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, or you can hop on over to the shop's Facebook fan page. And if that don't work, Google it. For my my dudes, Bro Rich, Double J, and D Gully, and all those who follow and support us, we say thank you. And as always, the Shop Report is powered by none other than Rocket Digital Media. That's ROCKIT Digital Media. It's the one-stop shop for all your marketing digital needs. I'm Barbershop Jay, and you've been listening to the Shop Report. And remember, the next time you want to know what's really going on, man, come to the shop. Walk-ins are always welcome. Holla!